Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to Resi Live. I am Nate Anderson, here once again with Mr. Daniel Larson.
How you doing, friends?
And it is Tuesday, August 17th, and today we are super excited to have a very special guest with us, coming from, I bet you can't guess it based on the cool background.
So mysterious.
Mr. Jeremy Bagwell.
And it's a real background. It's not some fake green screen
It is.
thing, you know?
I know.
So, yeah.
I was just telling Jeremy last week, like some of our guys will do the background, but one of them has a chroma key green screen, and just has it on the green. I'm like, I don't know.
Just embrace it.
Yeah,
There you go.
I mean, it's it's video
Behind the
production
scenes.
behind the scenes. Yeah, it's cool.
Everyone knows what you're doing.
Anyway, enough about that because we're all sick of seeing Zoom backgrounds anyway. But Mr. Jeremy, very glad to have you. Thanks for being on.
Yeah, thanks for letting me be here. It's fun to hang out with you guys and talk. I call it talk shop, but you know, it could be really anything, whatever your shop is.
Mm-hmm.
It's true. It's true.
And you're sporting the very cool MXU hat, I see.
Oh yeah, it's been my new hat. I convinced Lee to hook me up.
Little shout out to Lee Fields.
Yeah,
That's right.
I will say we don't have mix-you hats.
Yeah, what's up with that?
Come on, Lee.
Well,
What's going on,
hey,
bro?
Well, when the tour comes, I think there'll be some options for you.
All right.
Yeah.
We'll see.
So,
We'll see.
Yeah.
MXU, by the way, I guess we can give them a little shout out probably because
Absolutely.
I think we're all very involved in the MXU.
I'm pretty sure
world,
we just
universe.
gave them a shout out.
Probably so.
No matter what.
But yeah, we're very excited that they're going to be here in Denver, and I think Jeremy, you're going to be here in Denver too in a couple weeks,
I will.
right? October 1st. We're gonna be in town.
Nice.
And then we're actually streaming their big deal on Chicago, October
That's
4th
right.
and 5th. So that'll be cool
That's
as
right.
well. But Jeremy, I'd love to take some time today. You know, we have obviously worked a lot together in the past between Ross and Resi, and we haven't really brought you guys in as far as just a relationship of getting to know you guys and getting to know your heart and your how you work with House of Worship and with churches and everything that's going on in the church world and space over the past year. So we just thought it'd be cool to bring you and I know there's some others on your team that we'll probably have on at some point too, but just to kind of bring in and talk about everything that's been going on. So I'd love to hear a little bit though, first of all, even just about you in particular. How did you, tell me about yourself, what you do at Ross, and a little bit about how you ended up there.
Okay, so we'll do the 30-second version, and then you can tell me to dive deeper if we need to. But essentially, for the last 15 years, I've been doing live production in church world. So Sunday execution, worked at small church, then grew into having opportunities at 2 mega churches in Atlanta. And the last church was North Point Community Church. I was a live video director, oversaw all the video team volunteers, and oversaw, as production director, oversaw the experience. So I joined Ross last July, so it's been a year, and it's been really fun. Really, my whole passion is to not be, I don't know how to, I guess I've had a year trying to say this, but at the end of the day, we all know what manufacturers and how manufacturers interact with church world. And sometimes it's good and sometimes it's bad. I think it's more frustrating sometimes than others. Obviously, Resi is a different scenario because you guys serve the church
Well said.
really well. But a lot of other churches who don't have a primary client as a church, it's just frustrating sometimes for us who work at churches. So I was like, hey, I want to jump in at Ross and serve churches, serve well. Even if you don't buy our products, I want you to have a great experience with us and let us help you solve some problems and make you better. So that's what I'm all about. It sounds really salesy, but I promise it's not.
We believe you.
No, and I see that in your heart, man, and it's been awesome to see how you've been able to just even the past, I think we were connected on, Instagram or something before that, but it's been cool to see how you being involved at Ross and, participating in stuff like Mix You and seeing you at the different church shows and stuff. It's been really cool to see how, you've been able to bring that face and support people as part of Ross out to the church world, which has been really cool.
Yeah. I think as well, some people are like, what do you actually do? Well, I kind of sit on both sides of the fence where I interact with our product teams and I get to sit on on the sales side and engage with folks who are looking at buying our switchers and routers and all our video products. So I think I enjoy both of them equally, but I really enjoy being able to sit with our product teams and say, hey, here's how we can serve churches, this type of product, this type of way. Like, what if we had this feature, that feature? That's what I look forward to the most, because at the end of the day, it's the people that I used to be, right? Like,
Yeah.
so we want to serve well and find products that fit the churches and not just be a product that kind of overflows from a newsroom or a sports stadium and kind of fits in the church. Like, let's go after finding some things that really serve the church as well.
That's awesome. Okay, so let's just assume that no one has ever heard of Ross that's watching this. Can you give us, just like 10 seconds, like what is Ross and why would someone choose it?
Great question. So Ross Video makes everything in the video processing world. So our marketing team and PR team would probably say it a completely different way. But for someone who's never heard of it, it's a video signal that comes out of a camera in a live event. So you're going to have a camera, the signal comes out of it. Once it comes out of that camera, we process everything through the moment it hits a Resi encoder. So you think about that whole signal chain from back of the camera to a Resi encoder, or back of the camera to a projector in your room, or an LED wall, or a TV. We make stuff that helps get that video signal to and from the places you need to be. So Video Switcher is our flagship product that really Ross was started off of, and then we grew and developed products to help that entire ecosystem be fluid and be pretty amazing. So that was longer than 10 seconds.
That's all right. That's all right. You nailed it. And we didn't even rehearse the Resi plug. Well done.
Oh, you know what?
Hey, dude.
It ain't my first rodeo.
That's right. That's right. Well done. Well done. No, we appreciate it for sure. Okay, so talk to us a little bit about, you said that you primarily focus on the house of worship market, and you have this like unique opportunity to kind of, straddle the fence in a way from sales and product. What are some of the pain points that you've seen come through from a sales side that you've been able to push through to the product team? Especially considering the past year and a half or so, where so many more people are discovering the benefits of, say, a switcher or a live production environment.
Yeah. So I think it's very apparent that churches are like budget challenged. I'm not going to say they're cheap because cheap has like this negative connotation. You're not just a cheapo. It really is like, it's people's money. They give it like you're trying to be a good steward. So we're very budget conscious. And so I was able to have conversations on the Ross side to say like, hey, let me walk you through why, instead of just being frustrated with the fact that church A does not have enough budget money for a certain switcher, let's walk through the reason why they don't have it. And just sometimes you just need that refresher, right? And some people understand it, some people don't. So we walk through like, it's people's money. There's this high level of commitment, this high level of conviction, and it's personal because it's our faith. And so when you think about that and all combined, it's like, man, the purchasing decisions get really tough. And like, man, I don't know, should I spend that? Or like, what should we spend the money on? How should we spend it? It gets really challenging. So walking through that, so we developed 3 words that really shape what we do in the worship production market. I don't like the word house of worship, so I nix that.
Awesome.
I don't use it. So worship production market for us is community, empathy, and innovation. So, and that's like my jam at the end of the day. It's like, hey, we're better together. I want you to know that like we get you and we hear you and we hope to feel your pain, or at least attempt to. And then innovations, like we want to do stuff that help make you better.
Yeah.
A less stressful Sunday, know that things are working, and also innovate in a way that maybe helps those budget conscious people make wiser decisions, or help with the decision making process. We'll say it that way.
Sure.
So those are the 3 things that I talk about internally and externally. Like, so on the product development side, hey, these are the things we're going after. And then when we talk to people in the community who should buy Ross, we say, hey, this is what we think about it. We think we're part of your community. We want to have this shared learning. We want to have some empathy about what you're doing, and hopefully bring some innovation.
Yeah. As kind of a former church tech leader yourselves, what do you think is like the biggest hurdle for church tech guys in like getting there, or really succeeding at producing a powerful worship experience, especially in the context of the world as it is right now?
Yeah. Weirdly enough, I think one of the biggest struggles is like we let ourselves get in the way. And, now being on this side of it, 14, 15 years later, I'm like, why didn't I reach out to like these large churches I was at this small church and I never reached out to a North Point or to larger churches who were doing it the way I would hope to have been doing it and wanted to. I think I just let myself get in the way. And I think we're still at that point where it's like, we've sometimes, if you're sitting at a church or part of a community that is you're like, man, we just don't have what I feel like we need, and sometimes it's challenging, or you're stressful, or you're working so much. It's a lot of work to like step out and reach out to somebody.
Yeah.
And what I would encourage you, being from someone who worked at North Point, like we really love having conversations with people who are trying to figure it out. Like, I love it when people call and like, hey, what's North Point doing about video directing or training volunteers, or how do you set up your switcher? Like, those are amazing conversations. So don't be shy about that. Like, genuinely reach out, or reach out to me, and I'll hook you up with somebody that would be great to talk to. Or you guys know a ton of people as well. So I think just taking that step is pretty intimidating.
Yeah.
But it's really helpful if you do it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that was the biggest thing. I mean, both of us are kind of former church production and creative guys, and that's the one thing looking back at my time there that I'm like, man, if I would have just called these guys down the road that I, looked up to for so long, probably could have done a lot better.
Yeah. And I always felt like I didn't have time either. It was like, well, I don't have time. Like, Sunday's coming. Like, it's Thursday afternoon. I got to get ready. I'm trying to take tomorrow off. Like, oh, well. And then it's just the tyranny of the urgent just takes place and trumps everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Instead of trying to figure out what they're doing through Instagram pictures, maybe just slide into their DMs and be like, hey, what's up?
Let's be honest. Those Instagram pictures look way better than it probably did in real life.
Absolutely.
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 Absolutely. All right. So, taking into consideration, the season, of COVID that we kind of have went through, and, regardless of what the future kind of holds concerning all that, what do you think the trends are right now in the video world, when it comes to the worship and production industry?
Man, I think trends, I don't know, it's kind of how do you quantify trends?
Sure.
Or qualify it? Because, it's like right when COVID happened, trends like everybody's broadcast, nobody's doing anything in the rooms, all that stuff. But what the trend now, as people start meeting back in the room, the conversations I see happening are like, man, we made our broadcast experience really good, or pretty good, and now people are starting meeting back in the room, and we still want to have this incredible broadcast experience, and we want our stream, right, our video and audio on the other side of this stream to sound and look amazing. Yet that takes work, effort, and energy. And now you need to take that and put it into the in-person event. And there's this tension of like, how do we maintain what we did so well when we didn't have in the room experience, and we could do kind of like an empty room shoot almost. But how do we take that broadcast level experience, keep it where it is, and still have an incredible in-room experience? And so I just hear stories of the challenge of like, oh, and it's particularly the folks who have never broadcast before.
Yeah.
Oh, and now they're like, okay, well, we're streaming, we're broadcasting, we're in it, let's go. And now it's like, wait, do I have the switcher? Like, do I have a big enough switcher now to do the broadcast and the projector screens, for in-room? So that's the trend that I see, or maybe a challenge
Sure.
that I see people trying to overcome.
I see.
So it'll be interesting to see where the broadcast lands. I think everybody's going to have to keep doing it for a while.
I see our handheld guys getting a lot further on stage than they used to before.
Yes, that's right.
They've
gotten bold.
During COVID, there was this awesome,
Yes.
like, I go to Red Rocks, and we've got, they've got a very cinematic style. And I remember, I think I mentioned it once before, but like one of the handheld camera ops literally did a circle, like with their wireless rig, their Teardeck rig, and like walked around the stage like in one continuous shot.
I remember that.
Like that just couldn't happen.
No.
But now I think it's becoming more accepting too, where it's like people kind of understand, that's what this online thing is for, and
Yeah.
so there's a little bit more openness to that. So it's cool.
It definitely created value. And like people sitting in the audience now definitely have value of like, oh, video matters. Oh, that's why they're doing this now. 'Cause
Yeah.
they've experienced the other side, which they hadn't before.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
What's the coolest? So I have one in mind, but I want to know if it's the same one. What is
Okay.
the coolest Ross church setup that you've came across so far?
Coolest. It's just different.
It's a dangerous question too.
It doesn't
It is a
necessarily have to
very-
be like, the biggest church either. It could just
Yeah.
be
That's right.
the best setup
Yeah.
that you've come across.
The best setup. I don't know. Here's the reason why it's hard to answer that question, because what I've learned as well when we talk about trends, every church really functions differently.
Yeah.
And every team does. So like I could look at North Point, and man, we loved our Ross system we had at North Point. Then I look, I freelance or help Passion out every now and then. I really like what they have set up with their Ultrix router and their Carbonite switchers. But then I look at even Transformation Church's design. They're continuing to build it, and it's amazing as well. But those three are like different applications, really.
Mhm.
So it's hard to say the coolest. And to be honest, not to throw you under the bus, but I just don't like coolest always equaling most expensive.
Yeah,
And which you
that's
didn't
fair.
intend for that. You didn't intend when you asked the question.
Way to
but
go, Nate. Jeez.
a lot of people, I'm not saying you did, a lot of people go there. Like a lot of people
Absolutely.
just say, oh, well, transformation or
Yeah.
elevation, or, it's like, no, well,
Mm-hmm.
cool is really like when you solve your problems in a great way,
Absolutely.
large or small.
Yeah.
Well said.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, speaking of coolest, is there anything from a product standpoint that no one else knows that you can tell us right now?
I wish that was true.
That's really the reason why we do these things.
Well,
I
to be
mean,
honest.
yeah. Just trying to put
wish.
you on the spot.
Yeah, we're not there yet.
Okay.
He even
yeah,
tried
I've
to do it
only
with our
worked there-
products person when she was on too a
I
few
did.
weeks ago. So
did.
yeah.
I'm an early adopter, so I.
I wish I could. We just announced a whole slew of products over the last 6 to 8 months with our switcher product lines. So brand new control panels for our switchers with touch mnemonics, which is really amazing.
Yeah.
So that's really awesome. And then we take a switcher and we can put a switcher inside of one of our Ultrix routers.
That's cool.
And have internal routes to the switcher, so no external cabling to go to switcher. So those things get me really excited because that's a significant innovation
Yeah.
in our space.
What do you see? We talked about church trends. What about just video and production trends in general? Of course, I think we've seen the Ultrix really kind of take shape from Ross over the past several years and be able to do really some pretty cool things and kind of integrate into a really streamlined production experience. But are some other trends that you see just within video production in general, live video?
So the big trends are like high density, meaning like a 1 RU rack putting a ton of inputs and outputs in it because that space costs money, to be honest. And so how big is your switcher frame? That's more in like newsroom. You're building a live sports stadium. Like every square inch of those racks costs their dollar money is attached to it. So so high density is one trend. The other trend that some folks are doing is this idea of virtualization, which we haven't gotten there yet as an industry, but the idea of like, okay, now we can do network over video. We have NDI. We have SMPTE 2110.
Yeah,
that's fully baked as a transport or broadcast video transport protocol. That may not be the exact way to describe it, but I think it's close. But okay, we got all these network stuff, right? We take uncompressed video over our network. Well, now what does that mean? Like, can I have a server somewhere, off in some server farm, spin up some type of video device, and I switch from it?
Yeah.
That's like to be determined.
Sure.
But I think that's like a trend, is like, hey, what would happen if we didn't have to have a switcher on our site in our facility, but we could take video and send it up to a switcher somewhere and then use it, and then when we don't use it, we don't need it, like that kind of thing. Now it's a church is a long ways off from that,
right?
But that's like that's ultimate flexibility, right? You can go broadcast from anywhere, just have big enough internet pipe to get to the devices you need that's hosted in the cloud. So it's a pretty cool thing to think about, to be determined if it's actually economical or not.
Yeah, that makes sense. It is cool. I mean, obviously, stuff like that we're saying, not attainable, at least for the house of worship type area or church area for quite a while, but cool to see what's coming down the pike. And I think virtualization and remote production obviously has been a huge part of this past year. Even seeing like the Olympics, how that was done differently this year, it seemed like that was all done kind of from one central station, right? And I'm sure they can just kind of pipe in whatever they want from different areas. Yeah, it's cool.
I'll also say workflow. When we say in video world, company world, we talk about workflow, and a lot of people maybe don't understand it, but workflow is like, how do you how do the graphics op interact with a switcher and control things and make routes and make your production happen. So that's the whole workflow conversation. It's like, okay, how do you want people to see graphics on the screen? Do you want a keyer from the switcher, or a keyer or a switcher op take it as a source? All these different workflow things. So I think the trend is the pandemic challenged and creating some workflow trends, where people are challenged to change like some of these workflows that existed for the last 30 years.
Yeah.
So
absolutely. And to hit on one from a church specifically, the one that I love and I think is probably a pretty something that would have some pretty awesome use cases would be like Life Church's set up with their remote cameras too, even in the auditorium.
Exactly.
Have you seen those?
No.
They just have these cameras that are down right by stage level that are robotics, and then they have operators that are back, in another room.
Oh, yeah.
That are moving the tripods around, and that's moving the cameras.
Yeah.
It's like they could be at home moving these tripods around.
Dude, that's insane.
Crazy.
So those are Furios. That's a Ross product.
Mm-hmm.
Now the camera isn't the imager and the camera body, but they're Sony's. But yes, we make all the robotics that make all that happen, which is really amazing. And
it's cool.
We're actually having a couple of churches this fall install a few more. So like,
nice. We're
going to start seeing them around. I'm a big fan of them.
Yeah.
They're awesome.
I hope the days of the PTZ. I mean, the PTZ is still great and has its use, obviously, but there's some pretty cool ability with some of that robotic stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I think we're getting close to the end of our time here. We definitely want to respect that. But I think what's really one of the cool things about Ross is you guys are a hardware manufacturer as well as kind of like these thought leaders in the industry. And so what have the challenges looked like for you guys in terms of, obviously the demand increase, over the past year and a half has also kind of created this, gap between like technology being available and actually like getting into customers' hands. And like, so how have you guys dealt with that kind of challenge? We've all heard of the semiconductor shortage and all these different things. What does that look like for you guys?
Well, we have some really smart people on our manufacturing team that we're able to get ahead and bought a lot of pieces and parts. So I get asked this all the time, is like where we make our stuff. So we make our stuff in Canada, in Ottawa. So all of our manufacturing happens there. Now we get pieces and parts from around the world, obviously. And so pieces and parts were bought, and extra pieces and parts were purchased for us to kind of maintain delivering. But the semiconductor shortage obviously has really hit everybody, and we were able to pivot on some hardware, and from a pieces and parts standpoint, and still continue to crank out our quality stuff. But we do have our challenges. There's
Sure.
a few things that is like, man, it's tough to deal with. Oh, and manufacturing team's amazing. They actually worked with the local government, figured out a way to like have different shifts, so minimize the COVID exposure to people.
Yeah.
So we
That's awesome.
ran our factory in a different way, more hours, different shifts, and all that kind of stuff to continue doing, but also protect and keep people healthy.
That's awesome, man. Well done.
Cool. Well, Jeremy, it's been awesome to spend the time today. We'd love to talk again soon, have you on again soon, and just talk about the industry and where the world is headed. But for now, thank you so much. And like I said, I mean, Ross and Resi, I think we're kind of go together like peanut butter and jelly. So it's pretty awesome to be able to have you guys be able to show up every once in a while. So anyway, we'll be looking forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks. And thank you all for watching. We'll see you next week.
Thanks, guys.
See ya.